Um, Welcome everybody to Wednesday at noon. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dana Kaufman. I'm assistant professor in music composition at UC Riverside and coordinator of this year's Wednesday at Noon series. Today, I'm very pleased to introduce Shih-wei Wu, who is a UCR alumnus himself. And first, I would like to read the land acknowledgement before turning it over to my colleague Terry Nguyen, who is coordinating today's event with Shih-wei Wu. Miawe, hello. In honor of Rupert and Jeanette Costo's founding relationship to our campus, we would like to respectfully acknowledge and recognize our responsibility to the original and current caretakers of this land, water, and air, the Cahuilla, Tongva, Luiseno, and Serrano peoples, and all of their descendants past, present, and future. Today, this meeting place is home to many Indigenous peoples from all over the world, including UCR faculty, students, and staff, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on these homelands. The music department also acknowledges that it was founded upon exclusions and erasures of many Indigenous peoples. Please take a moment to consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us together here today, and join us in uncovering such truths at any and all public events. Achama, thank you, or good feelings. Please join us next week, Wednesday, February 3rd, for a presentation by Ioannida Kostake, who is an ethnomusicologist and scholar of Romani music. And now I'd like to turn it over to Terry Nguyen, who will introduce today's guest. Terry.
Thank you, Dana, and good afternoon to all of you for joining us today for the Wednesday at noon. I have the honor of introducing my good friend and collaborator of over 10 years, Shih-wei Wu. Both Shih-wei and I were UCR students. Well, I'd already graduated when he was working on his senior thesis, and we actually met when he asked me to work on a project with him. So we actually did perform at a Wednesday at noon about 10 years ago. So he reminds me. And from after UCR, Shih-wei did go on to UC Irvine, where he earned a master's in fine arts. And his specialty is Japanese taiko music, as well as the shakuhachi, which is a Japanese flute. Shih-wei has studied under many notable artists, including the late Reverend Tom Kurai. Many of you might know him as the former taiko teacher at UC Riverside. And Shih-wei has also worked with Yo-Yo Ma of the Silk Road Ensemble, and he studied shakuhachi under Kojiro Umezaki. Today, Shih-wei will be joining us to present many of his works in progress, and give us a bit of a journey through his artistic life as an artist and as an artist in this pandemic. So we hope that you'll be enjoying our program today. And if you have any questions, we will have a Q&A session at the end of the program. And so without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Shih-wei Wu.
Just a quick note before we turn it over to Shih-wei. We are recording this event, so if you don't want to be included on the recording, please, of course, feel free to turn off your cameras and microphones. Shih-wei.
Hey. Yay! Thank you, Terry, and thank you, Professor Kaufman, for the wonderful introduction. I think before I begin my presentation, I want to invite you all to join me. Let's taking a deep breath together. In with our mouths, out in with our nose. Hold it for a second, and then let out. Let's close our eyes, and then take a breath in with your nose. Hold, let out. And now breathe normally. I'm going to ask you to open your eyes in a bit, but I would like to invite you to do it slowly, deliberately. Let the vision before you blur first, and then let things come in focus. Open your eyes. So my name is Shih-wei Wu, and I play this Japanese flute, as you just heard, and I also play drums and compose. I go protesting. I write funny stories and comment on Facebook. I do a lot of all these other things, and so I know a lot about myself. And I know we're in a Zoom space, which makes this a little bit difficult. But I kind of want to know a little bit about all of you. I see some of you are my friends and acquaintances. It's so good to see you. And hello, Dr. Adams. It's so good to see you. It's so good to see you. I kind of want to know, you don't need to unmute yourself, but just keep yourself muted with like the thumbs up thing or just literally thumbs up. How many of you are undergrad in the music department? I see one. Oh, just one? Oh man. Okay. Well, you're a lone person here. How many of you are grad students here in the music department right now? Let's see. And scrolling to it. I see 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's exciting. Great. And I think I know some of you are my friends. And I see also professors. Thank you so much for joining us and taking time out of your busy schedule. And hello, Christine. Hello, 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 hello. It's good to see you. And Beverly. Hello, 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 hello. Love you all. Love you all. Okay, so that gives me a little idea of who you are. And anyway, I think I'll start with that piece you just heard. How about that? Is that okay? Yeah. Okay. Terry said it's okay. Okay. So Tamuke is the original title, and how many of you in here is seeing shakuhachi for the first time? I'm hoping that is not the case. Okay, great. Nobody thumbs up. Great. So, but long story short, shakuhachi is an emblem flute. You can find flutes like this in cultures across the world, and this particular kind came through the pathway through China, from the southern Chinese region, which is originally called Xiao, and eventually made into Japan through culture exchange around the Tang Dynasty. And it's very integral with the Zen Buddhist practice. As many of you probably have observed, that the performance quality in itself is meditative and reflective. To understand the instrument, you have to know a practice known as suizen, which means to blow Zen, the literal translation. So what the practice involves is that you practice these pieces called honkyoku, which means true music, right? Such a heavy term. True music. I play true music. And you practice this honkyoku while in your mind, you have certain idea totem where you observe while you're meditating and playing at the same time. So with tamuke, it's actually a remembrance song. It's not quite a dirge, but it's definitely a form of standoff, and its main thing behind it, it's remembering the dead. And I have to preface that in classical Japanese or traditional Japanese understanding of death and living, it's not the same as we have here in the West. The understanding is closer to a cyclical relationship. And in plain words, and again, I might be butchering this, like you should read a bit more about that, but it's that the dead doesn't necessarily stay away from us. They're very much integral in our lives. They watch over us, they see what we do. So tamuke, well, it is a remembrance. It's actually not about like being sad. It's not an emotional attached kind of thing. Instead, it's literally an act of putting your hands together and you do in front of your altar of your family, your grandfather, Ji-chan, or Oba-chan, your grandmother, as a way to remember them, offer them a prayer. However, so that's what that piece is about. But I was invited to present this music to public over the internet. Professor Kaufman was asking earlier if I'd done any performance over in online, and I did. It was with Shih-wei Wu in a Japanese garden in Van Nuys. It's absolutely amazing. You've never been there, please go. That's also where they used to shoot Star Trek. As Starship Academy is actually based on the building there. Anyway, and so it got me thinking. I mean, you just heard the music. If I have to be honest, when I first encountered this music, it's kind of long. It's long, and it's not that accessible. It's not melodic. Most of the thing is textual. That's actually interesting about the music. And even with my kind of poor audio recording capture device, you can't really hear all the beautiful resonance that's actually happening with the flute. That's meant to be the most expressive part of the practice. However, it did get me thinking about, what's my core value here? Like, what am I presenting here? Like, why do I bother to do this? And I think all performer and artist, at one point, you do ask yourself that question. So I started thinking about collective grief. I think that's something we're all sharing with just me and general public, not just like people who are watching the video, but I'm saying like in general, as a world, we are all experiencing a sense of loss. So that's why I have retitled this, my take on tamuke, to call it tamuke for the dearly departed. So that while I'm recording, instead of focusing on an offer of prayer, I'm actually focusing in my mind, thinking about what it means to relieve or assuage those people who are listening to this. And with a little bit of introduction, because I'm a talker. I love to talk a little bit before I play things, because I do something that's so different than what people are used to. I'm not just sitting down and play you a Bach chaconne, and I'm playing something that's a little bit off the beaten path. So with a little introduction, what I did instead is that I'm sharing my experience as I'm meditating on an idea and inviting the audience to think about that as well. So instead of listening to the piece as a musical happening that's going at them, I think of it as a sharing moment instead, which is a little bit truer to this practice, because konkyoku, to be honest, it's not meant to be concertized. I mean, they do that in Japan now, but that's not what the goal of the practice of music at all. They don't care if you listen. I mean, I'm not joking. It's about how does one use the time to reflect oneself, which is kind of what I want to talk about. Originally, I was kind of joking with Professor Kaufman. I wanted to do a live concert of 50 minutes of just straight up, with me and my backup players that get piano and bass, and just like go at it and play some of the sets and go like, yeah, and I finally get to do these music I wanted to premiere a while ago. Yeah, but all of that kind of went down the drain because of COVID. The numbers were rising. The partner of my one of my member of the band does not feel comfortable anymore. And if you know anything, you don't piss off the partner of your collaborators, because they are the one who bake you cookies, and also like late night thing, and also calling babysitter last minute when you get a gig. And they're the one who makes it happen. And so we had to get creative. I lacking a better term, I had to produce an asynchronized recording. And those of you who know me, I have no interest in that at all. I play folk music and I dabble in jazz. And what we do is we try to get things in life. And I like to direct my musician in moments, go like, hey, you piano, keep that riff, like don't stop there. And then I can come in and do an hour long kind of thing, a little less than that. But this change or this wrench being thrown down my path actually got me thinking a lot about what it means to be an artist during COVID-19. I mean, it I think many of you experience one way or the other and very differently, but I thought it might be worth it for me to share as a working artist here in LA. And I think I was hoping many undergrads would also identify with this, that when you go out into the world, these are some things you'll experience as well. And also for fellow artists who are here joining with us today, I'd love to commiserate with you. Who doesn't love to wallow together? And but the main thing is also for those of you who are big supporters of arts, you have to hear from somebody. I mean, can I say this in university setting, but it sucked. It sucked. It was terrible. A lot of us lost life resources. Some of my friends have actually become food. They don't have a regular income for food. So if this talk gets you thinking about joining a couple of Patreons of artists that you like and think about supporting them, I think I succeeded in a way. It even gets you to start thinking, engaging closely with people who are actually doing this in the field, who are actually in the forefront, and that we get to talk about them and who do interesting things. But in the core of my talk, what is artistic resiliency? What does it mean to have artistic resiliency? And actually, funny enough, when the pandemic began, I started thinking a lot about two devices from faculty here at UCR. One of them is actually sitting here, Dr. Adams. Another one is Professor Laborde. And those two people actually have made a fundamental change, and also it started me thinking about the context of artist resiliency. And apologies ahead of time, Dr. Adams, that I'm going to butcher your point. So you can send me an angry email afterwards. To start off, in one of the grad composition seminar I attended, Dr. Laborde actually asked us to think, what does it mean to be a composer in a post-apocalyptic world? Post-apocalyptic world. And I know that sounds like a really left field, a really strange question for a video games composition seminar, but it actually got me really thinking, what is my artistic practice? And what are the things I'm relying on to be always there? And when those things I relied on disappear, can I still be creative? And then on the other hand, Professor Adams has, in my composition class with him, once told me, my dear, if you're waiting for a inspiration, you'll never be composing. You'll never work. You need to actually be always working on your craft. It's kind of a gentle chastise of my work ethic at the time, which I'm still trying to improve. I'm sorry, I haven't gotten better yet, I don't think. But both of these points have me thinking about artistic resiliency. What does it mean to create when what was expected that you were given and taken for granted were taken away from you? And also when your environment isn't so great. I'm gonna take a water, sorry. And how do you continue to create? That's what I really want to talk about by showing some of these work in progress and projects I've done in the past 10 months to talk about them. I personally define artistic resiliency as the ability to create, the ability to continue to find the joy of creative process, even under the time of extreme. And I think while this has mentioned and been talked about, it's not so explicit in our education as artists. So this is also a sort of side thing I want to put into this conversation. Let's time travel really quick. 10 months ago, I don't know where you're at, probably sitting at home in your PJs, but I was just sent home from UC Irvine to go work from home. Very abruptly, the campus was actually shut down before we were even notified that we were supposed to send home. So I immediately went to coworkers and borrowed broadcasting equipment and then checked out like audio gears that I kind of know what I'm doing with, and then brought it home. And then I was just staring at my table, which is at half of the living room, at 10 feet by 10 foot space. This is it. This is what I get to work with in the next foreseeable future. Gigs are canceled. Nothing was coming through. I was lining up gigs to promote my album that was just released in September, and not September, November. Thanks, Dave. And everything just seems really bleak. Then, have you guys heard of this rapper named Lizzo? I hope some of you know Lizzo because she's amazing. She came on the news and she went viral for posting an hour-long video over Instagram Live of her just playing the flute and some healing crystal in front of her. And she brought joy to many people in the world. And then that's when I had the spark of an idea and really a curiosity on what it means and what I can do during this time. So very quickly, I started researching on what to do with all these equipment, not just broadcasting camera, 8K camera. I have no idea what I'm doing. And a week afterwards, I was really beta testing Facebook live broadcast over the internet with friends in San Francisco. And after that, I was doing weekly broadcasting on Wednesday at noon. That's why I'm from UC Riverside, right? So it doesn't, you can't stop being a Highlander. It's just, that's the way it is. And I started playing some Honkyoko, which is tamuke, the music you just listened to, and other classical pieces. I even play some Bach to connect with people. One of the most exciting thing I got out of it is I started I continued on my research, right? So I started a group called Gizabi Trio, which is a research format for me to research about low latency performance over the internet. And I premiered actually a piece with the Chicago Spectral Quartet. They invited artists to join in to a showcase kind of thing. And I premiered this piece called Tied Together as by Fate. I'll just share with you just now. Give me 1 second. Yes, let's take a listen to that. So that was all recorded over Zoom, and while the video and audio recording quality just wasn't that great, but we managed, even over internet, to create a sense of performing together. Because I had a hunch that we could use the natural lag that's occurring in over Zoom and internet as a way to create a false sorry, a false polyphonic texture with each other. And I draw upon a tradition from southern China, which is, again, where the flute came from, called Nanyin, or southern China music, the translation, where the music practice is heterophonic, where everybody played the same melody together. And I've seen that with variations. So I wrote a very simple melody for us to all follow together and play, while letting the lag ride. Just let it happen. And that's where the music came from. I'm gonna jump into directly to the next music because of interest of time. Give me 1 second here. Okay, great. Share screen. Before I continue, I need to ask, can we go over 12:50?
I think people will have to start leaving around 12:50, but usually we keep the room open until about 1 o'clock. So
Okay.
if you want to go till around then and people can stay as long as they like, I'd say we have about that time. Yeah.
I need till 1 o'clock because I'm talking a little bit more than I had practiced. So
Okay.
thank you
Yeah,
for bearing with me.
you're welcome to keep presenting, and everyone please stay as long as you can and as long as you like. And we'll be here a little longer than expected, but that's okay. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So just as you thought that the world could not get any worse, on August 4th, 2020, a giant explosion hit Beirut, killing at least 140, wounding more than 5,000 and displacing 300,000 from their home, including 80,000 children. It is in the latest episode that's really terrible crisis unfurling in Lebanon. Economic collapse, food insecurity, and the surging COVID-19 cases have left children and families across the country in need of emergency assistance. Oh, control emotion. So earlier Lizzo sparked my response, and this time a crisis happened. So the original tune is called Yala Tanam Khlima, and it's a children's lullaby. And I searched up and to want to put something together as a meaningful response during the time. So I called up my good friend, coworker, Christine Salema, who you'll see her artwork presented with the EP that I'm presenting to you, as well as my good friend Ryan Ross, bassist, electronic artist, to create that track together. I had a lot of doubt as to why I even did that project out, because I thought it was kind of tacky to ask people for money while they're losing their job. And I just, I don't know what that means to have a campaign during the time, because I created a track and uploaded it into something known as Play for Change, which is a nonprofit organization that connects artists to a cause and help them to directly fund funds towards to a good cause. And I chose UNICEF Lebanon because I did some research, make sure they're like above board and everything. So, but I decided that it's a good point for me to practice my artistic creative process. How do I take reflection and connect to what I do, some research, and then call my friends and present something? This is this is almost like a 10-year later response to the questions posed by Dr. Labor and Dr. Adams. How do I deal with these issues? What is art resilience to me? And I came down to a Chinese proverb, 天地人和, which means heaven, earth, people. This is not so much as a proverb telling you to be good or anything, but it's actually a method of categorization so that you can deal with you can make your event a success or what you're trying to pursue and do well in. Heaven, which literally means time. It's about recognizing opportunity. It's recognizing that there are these creative impulses in you and listen to it and go at it. It also is for you to recognize that there are discomfort at that time. Because I mean, heck, I was so scared of starting a broadcast, weekly, because I don't have that much music. I mean, I know some music, I can fill a 60-minute timeline. How do I be able to play and program weekly after week? I don't know. But I had to control by focusing my mind on just thinking about this proverb again, heaven, earth, people. I have to listen to my creative impulse. Then earth. Earth has to do with resources. It's equipment that I was able to borrow in short notice. It's setup that I can put together. I have to figure out how it works. And I'm always surprised at what things are available to me. The screen behind me is actually, there's a funny story about it. Mark and I, my husband and I, we were just walking down the street from our house to go get coffee. And then to our right, there was a yard sale. And the screen was right there. And and honestly, at first, I didn't want to talk to Niall first because I wasn't about to drop like some major money for like a family antique. Like that's not my, that's not how I roll. However, Mark just told me, like, talk to them. Just go talk to them. Like, you don't know. So I went to them and told them about I have this concert series and I need to make my house look a little bit nicer than the bottles of booze like lined up on the wall. And they just said that, just borrow it, just use it. That's when the heaven and earth lined up. The last part, people. To me, this might be one of the most core value in me. And this is my sort of advice to young artists who are pursuing a career in doing art, to you all. I'm specifically talking to you all. Collaborators, truth tellers, people that are better than you at what you do, someone you should always be seeking out and cultivate your relationship with. Because when I started wanting a new project, what did I do? First thing, I called up my friends. I called up my band members, like, hey, I got an idea. Can we do this? And they helped me drive forward. They gave me the strength to follow my thinking and thinking about it and realization. I'm running a little bit low on time, so I'm going to jump directly to play music. But I really want you to take out with you, if you don't remember anything, is that you should find your own way on finding creativity. Don't think about passion, because passion burns hot and stops. Instead of follow curiosity and think a lot about what that would take you and where you could go. All right, I'm going to get on to the new EP. And before that, I want to read all these things before I forget. I want to have a special thank you to Terry Nguyen and Professor Kaufman for organizing Wednesday at 12 noon series. I also want to recognize the staff support from Kathy DeAtley, Greg Renee, Toya Adams for making this possible. And I want to give a special mention to my collaborators, Christine Marie Salema, an Egyptian artist working here in Los Angeles, Ryan Ross, bassist, who had just released his album, so please go check him out, and Danny Andres, and Michael Matthews, Anthony Colgans, my husband, and my mom for letting me use her in video. So I don't think I have time for Q&A. I'm so sorry. Please email me the questions. My email is shih-wei-wu@gmail.com. I'm just going to start playing my EP in order. And if any of you still stick around, please feel free. And if we have to start the meeting, so be it. I love you all. thank you so much for those of you who were able to join us. And sorry for ran over time. Um, I'm very grateful for you to be here with me. That's all my presentation.
Thank you so much, Shih-wei, for joining us, and not only for sharing your beautiful work, but also for sharing your personal experiences about resilience in this era and what it means to be a performing artist these days. I particularly love your statement about embracing latency. And I think all of us here have had experiences with latency over Zoom, and particularly those of you who are performing musicians. And I just love the idea that that latency on Zoom isn't necessarily bad, it's just new. And it gives us an opportunity to create experimental work, and that kind of asynchronous performance can be just as valid as synchronous performance. We're just not used to it yet. So thank you for sharing your reflections. And I know we're quite over time, but I do want to see if anyone has any questions. Maybe one question for Shih-wei. Yes, Christine.
I was just waving goodbye.
Oh, thank you for coming.
No, I think it's brilliant. It's brilliant to see your development and how you've matured. I knew Willie as an undergraduate, as many of you have, and your career is just fantastic. I love seeing what you're doing.
Thank you, Christine. And I'm missing you as well. It's good to see you updates on Facebook land and all that. Well, thank you everyone for being here with me. And then I hope if you guys are interested, you can reach out to me. I'd love to hear more about your thoughts.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you again to Greg Renee, Kathy DeAtley, Toya Adams, Terry Nguyen for coordinating today's event, and of course to Shih-wei Wu. So thank you. We'll see you next week on February 3rd. Take care, everybody. Be well. Stay safe.
Thank you. Bye-bye.